Welcome everyone to our Moneywise Learning for Teens. We are on session 9 of our 12-week session on financial education. School is teaching you a lot of great things. We love school and we miss school a lot. I know I miss school more than my daughter does probably, but you need money smarts to become successful in your life. Whether you want to start your own business, whether you want to launch your career, or you want to start a family, to do any of this in your real life, you need to manage money well. So we are here to bridge that gap and make you money smart. And at the end of the day, how you manage money, not how much you make, how you manage your money determines how rich you'll become. So we are here to teach you how to manage money well. And so you can learn right now and set the great foundation you need later on. So you guys all know the house rules. All of you have been here before, I think most of you. Please ask the questions in the Q&A box, not the chat box. Chat box is just for us to talk to each other. No cross chat between people, please, and no chatting, spamming, trolling. I've had to remove a few people from the webinar because they're not following the rules. So please follow the rules so we don't have any trouble. We will get to questions at the end of the session, at the end of the discussion, so we don't get too delayed. Meanwhile, type your questions in the chat box so we can see it. It is our 9th session, actually. There will always be a quiz in every session. So yes, we will have a quiz, and you also pay attention because there will be prizes. As always, we'll give out some gift cards for people who do well in the quiz. I usually pick one middle schooler and one high schooler who gets a $5 gift card to Amazon or Steam or Starbucks. So what will you learn? So this is our 9th session, and we have learned about assets and liabilities. We've learned about loans. We've learned about interest. We've learned about insurance. We've learned about building a credit. We have learned about bank accounts and credit and debit cards. We have learned about college admissions with our guest speaker. We have learned about taxes last week. And today we're going to learn about how to become a millionaire. So you're going to learn about retirement accounts. This session is for retirement accounts. So most of you are familiar with us. Anar is my partner. She is an entrepreneur and an investor at Lotus Capital. That's her company. She teaches the kids webinars 5 to 10. I'm Kavitha Baratakke, and I have a company I call Cherry Street Investments. I'm based in Austin, and I am doing the ages 11 to 18 webinars. So a quick review of assignments from last week. How many of you watched the videos last week? You can just raise your hand. Watch the videos I sent out. Are you guys getting the emails I sent out with the videos and the review questions and all that? Right? No. Okay. If you're not getting it, you should be getting emails. All of you are on my email list. Check your spam box, spam folder, whichever email you use for registration for this webinar. It'll probably go to the spam or promotions folder, so you should be looking out for those. You please watch those videos if you haven't watched it. And also the assignment was to review what kind of tax bracket your parents fall into, review a paycheck, if they're business owners, what kind of taxes do they pay, and what percentage of the income goes in taxes and how they're reducing the tax burden. So let's see. What were some of the lessons you learned from the assignment? Before that, let's see how many people actually did the assignment. I'm launching a poll. It should be on your screen. Okay, that's not too bad. So 80% or more of you, little less than 80% did the assignment. or somewhat of it, not all of it, okay? 73%, okay. That's good enough for me. So what were some of the things you learned from your last assignment? This was, I only want to know about the last week's assignment that was relevant to taxes. What did you learn from the assignment and or the class? Anybody wants to share in the chat box, please? I am not seeing any messages in the chat box. Is anybody typing? Okay, I learned so much stuff like my parents' tax bracket. We pay a lot in taxes and not for our own benefit, but for everyone as a community. That's a great point, Neela. Learned that my dad is doing pretty good. That's awesome. Good for your dad. Is fifth grade considered middle school because I live in Texas? Yes, fifth grade is considered middle school. I don't know, fifth, it doesn't really matter. Your middle and elementary, I'm combining them together. I learned which side of the circle my parents are in. Urjit, which side of the circle are they in? Do you want to share? The left side, yeah. They're employees, right? They're on the left side. Did you talk to them about going to the right side, Urjit? Yeah, that's awesome. Katie, that he's working to bringing up his assets. That's awesome. Katie says her dad is working to, build up his assets, which is awesome. Someone asked, was the 7th session the college planning session? Yes, it was. Also, I didn't get the free book from the college planning course. You know what? He has not responded to me too. So I need to follow up on that and get back to you guys. Okay, I promise I'll do that. Hi, Arya. Who's your mom? I'm sorry. So is my mom. Oh, so is your mom. Okay, I got it. So is my mom. Okay, she's working to build up her assets. That's awesome. That's the way to go. Federal taxes can go to border protection and federal prison. That's right. Taxes go to the government, so the government can set up all these facilities for us, the roads and everything else. Okay, that's good enough. Let's keep moving. We have a lot to cover today. So today's lesson is on retirement. How to become a millionaire. So let's see. Why do you think we need to think about retirement right now? You're just 11, maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, or something between 11 and 18. Why should you worry about retirement right now? Does anybody want to tell me? To save money. Okay, what else? Savings, okay. Why now? Why so early? When you retire from work, you can use the money you saved up. So you can prepare. The sooner you start, the better. Yes, that's the answer I was looking for. The sooner you start, the better. Why? Let's see here. To take advantage of the power of compounding, right? So the more time you have to compound money, the higher your money, the bigger your pool of money can get. So all of you are familiar with the power with compound interest, right? Just like you pay interest, compound interest on your credit card, you can also make money work for you the other way, right? Instead of paying interest to someone else, you earn interest and make money with your own money in your retirement account or outside of your retirement account as well. But when you're able to compound, you can make a very small amount of deposit every single month of your life and then grow a very large amount of money because the interest kind of grows. And then let's say the first year I put in $6,000. Now the interest grows on top of that 6,000. The second year, let's say I get 10% interest. So that's $600 for every $6,000. So that's $600 now. The next year, guys, is $6,600 that you're earning interest on, right? That's compounding. So what happens is the power of compounding, it's exponential growth. And that's what you're seeing here. The longer that time period of exponential growth, the more money you can make. And that's why it's possible that all of you can become millionaires if you start early and save well, okay? So let's see a show of hands. Who wants to become a millionaire? Show of hands, raise your hand on the application. There's a raise hand somewhere, isn't there? Anyway, I can't see it. Where is the raise hand? Wasn't there a raise hand? It's missing. Okay, Alek Urjit, he says he wants to become a billionaire. Okay, just type yes if you want to become a millionaire. Okay, do you want to learn how to become a millionaire? Type yes. Okay, awesome. I want you to say yes, I want to become a millionaire. I want to become a billionaire, even better. I like that. All right. So to get to that, I'm going to talk about that. I promise. I'll never forget that. But let's go through what types of retirement accounts are there before we get talking about how to make that $1 million, okay, or more. So there are traditionally, I mean, in terms of retirement accounts, there's two types of retirement accounts. There's traditional accounts, and then there's something called the Roth accounts. On the traditional accounts, we'll talk through what traditional does, and we'll talk through what Roth does. In the traditional side, they have what's called an IRA account, which is an individual retirement account. There is 401k account, which is an employer account. So let's say you're going to work for someone, then they might have a 401k plan for you. And so that's an employer account. There's a solo 401k account, and this is something self-employed people do. Like I have my own business, I employ myself, and I have a solo 401k account. So let's say you had an employer account. You actually might have a side business. Let's say you're selling stuff on Amazon. Then you can have a solo 401k account as well, in addition to your employer account. It's not like one versus the other. So you can have all the three types of accounts if you wanted to, if you qualified to put money in all of them, okay? And on the right side, that's a Roth IRA, there's Roth 401k, and there's Roth solo 401k. And we'll talk about what's the difference between traditional Roth. For now, understand that there are three basic types of accounts, and each of those kinds of accounts can either be traditional or Roth. What is the difference between an IRA and a solo 401k is the question. The IRA and solo 401k are different in the way we are going to talk about, actually. I haven't covered that yet. The next slide covers that. So a solo 401k or a regular 401k, the employer 401k, is usually for business, like let's say I'm self-employed, or it's an employer sets it up for me. An individual retirement account is individual, right? You go set it up for yourself. That's the main difference between a 401k and an IRA. Also, there are limits on how much you can put in each account. And it depends on whether it's a 401k, what kind of a 401k, and it depends on what kind of an IRA it is. Actually, all IRAs at 6,000, okay? And sometimes if your income is very high, then you cannot put money into an IRA. You can, but you won't get any tax deductions for it. And the whole idea of retirement account is that you'll get some kind of tax deductions or tax benefits, either at the beginning when you put in the money, or at the end when you take money out. So that's the idea of retirement in general, is that there has to be a tax benefit to it, okay? So let's talk about, what about the type of account? And we talked about this in the previous slide, right? So there's Roth and traditional versions of both of these types of accounts, 401k and IRA. So there's Roth 401k, traditional 401k, Roth IRA, and traditional IRA. Does that make sense? And then you have that solo 401k and different kinds of 401k. So please note the contribution limits for solo 401k. Doesn't that look really good? Actually, it's 62,000. There's an extra zero there. Ignore that. So look at the contribution you can do to a solo 401k versus an employer 401k. So you can put $56,000 if you're under the age of 50 to a solo 401k. You can only put 62,000. You can put up to 62,000 if you're over 50. It's not 620,000, it's 62,000. Okay. But if you're in an employer situation, you're working for someone and you have a 401k, you can only put 19,000 at the max. Okay. And IRA is a very low limit. It's 6,000. Neela, hold on the questions. I will cover the topics and then we'll address, those questions will be answered, okay? So Roth is essentially, I'll explain what the difference between Roth and traditional. For now, just understand that there are two of them. Penalty-free withdrawals. So in all kinds of retirement account, when you hit the age of 59 and a half, it's a weird number, 59 and a half, but that's the number. They allow you to not pay penalties. What does that mean? So let's say I'm 30 years old and I decide I want to take my money out of my 401k that I put every year when I was working, when I started working at 25 and I was 30 years old, I decided I need money and I decided to take it out of my 401k. I will pay the taxes at that time plus a 10% penalty because I'm not 59 and a half yet. Okay. So 59 and a half is usually the withdrawal period, minimum withdrawal age for a retirement account. That's what you need to remember. So let's take an example of a person who does not do a retirement account and a person who does a traditional, remember not Roth, okay? Traditional IRA or 401k. So we'll start with an example of someone who's making 60,000 a year, which is 5,000 a month. In both cases. And that person in the first case, no retirement account, is making a zero retirement contribution. The second case, you see on the right side here, the person's making 6,000 a year, which is 10% contribution, right? 6,000 is 10% of 60,000. Does that make sense? Now, the taxable income is 60,000 minus 12,200. Does anybody remember what that 12,200 is? I'm just throwing it out there because we covered it last class. Anyone wants to type it in the chat box? So this is the standard deduction, okay? This year, it's basically saying if you are a person, you get a deduction, like let's say you're a single person, you get 12,200 to take off your taxes before you pay any taxes. Okay, you take that money off of your income before you pay taxes. So I'm just putting that in both cases, okay? 12,200 is there both sides. So you remove that and that's really your taxable income, okay? There might be other deductions, but we're keeping a simple example here. So on the traditional IRA side or 401k side, we have 12,200 minus 6,000, remember? We put it in the retirement account and it's traditional. So what traditional means is that you pay taxes, it's pre-tax dollars, like before you pay taxes. Okay, so let me actually go to the next one and then we'll come back to this. So look at traditional versus Roth. So what is traditional? Pre-tax dollars. So what that means is before I pay taxes, I put the money in. Whereas in a Roth, it's post-tax dollars, which means I pay taxes on my money and then put the dollars in. And how it matters, I'll explain in a little bit. Growth, tax deferred. What that means is you don't pay taxes right now on a traditional IRA. So I put in pre-tax, didn't pay taxes. My growth, no taxes. But when I remove money from a traditional account, I pay taxes. So no tax, tax that when you remove money from the account. In a Roth, you pay taxes before you put the money in, but the growth is tax-free and removing it from the Roth is tax-free. So before we go there, let's look at growth, right? We saw growth, tax deferred. Understand the term deferred, which means the tax has to be paid later. That's all it means. Tax-free, no taxes later. Tax was paid here before, tax was not paid here before. So no tax, no tax, but we'll pay tax here later. Tax, no taxes ever, okay? So distributions, there's something called required minimum distribution. That's RMD, required minimum distribution. What that means is, let's say I am 30 years old and I started putting money into my account and I just keep the money growing there. I never paid taxes on the money. I'm not paying taxes on the growth, but the government will tell me that you have to take money out of that account by after 72 years old. Right now it's 72. It's called RMD. It's basically saying there is a certain amount of dollars that I have to take out of the account and pay them taxes. Why do they do that? They need to make money. So if you don't take money out of the account, they're not going to get taxes on that money, right? So they're going to require you to pay taxes. And take the money out after 72 years. So there are two ages here. There's 59 and a half, there's 72. 59 and a half is when you can take the money out without penalties, okay? But you're not required to take it out after 59 and a half. You can if you want to. But after 72, you have to take the money out, a certain amount of it out every year, okay? Whereas in a Roth, there's no RMDs or required minimum distribution, because remember, guys, you pay taxes already. Everything after that is tax-free for you. Does everybody understand this? If someone doesn't understand, let me know. It's a lot to take in, and I get it. So taxes. Well, who pays the taxes? Tax paid at tax bracket at distribution. So let's say I'm making $60,000 and paying 15% in taxes right now. But when I retire, let's say I'm making $100,000 and I'm paying 25% in taxes. Then I will be, if I withdraw that at retirement, and at retirement I'm making 100,000, then I'll be paying 25% in taxes, which is more than what I'll be paying when I put the money in. So when I was 30, I put the money in. At 60, I took the money out. If my tax bracket is higher, then I'll pay more taxes in the traditional one. Did everybody get that? Tax paid at tax bracket when you take the money out, okay? Here, you don't pay any taxes when you take it out. Okay. So withdrawal in both, in this case, the withdrawal is after 15 and a half years. If you pull it out before, let's say I'm 30 years old, I want to take the money out, I pay 10% penalty plus the taxes, okay? And here, it can be withdrawn early, no penalty for qualified expenses. And I will talk about what qualified expenses are in a couple of seconds, but let's get back to the previous slide. I want to look at this example, and let's talk about why we want to consider retirement, saving for retirement. We have a gross income of 60K. We have retirement contribution of 0 here and 6,000 a year here. So here we remove the standard deduction, and that's our taxable income. Here we remove the 6,000 as well, right? Remember, you put that away in a retirement account and it's traditional. So you have a taxable income of 41,000. Now your taxes are federal taxes plus FICA. FICA are payroll taxes, and we talked about this last week. So the total percentage is 12. Let's assume you're in the 12% bracket. Then it's 12 plus 7.65, which is 9,000 something dollars. Whereas on this side, obviously your tax burden is reduced because you've put your money away in your retirement account, right? So your taxes reduced, and that's your effective income, right? So I'm counting that $6,000 because it's still your money. It's sitting in a different account, but it's still your money, right? So you actually saved $1,179 in taxes because you put money into retirement. So again, think about the power of compounding. It's not $1,179 if your income goes up, right? Your income goes up, your contributions go up, your savings go up. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So why does 401k exist if IRA is so good? 401k exists because see the limits on the IRA? Contribution limits, only $6,000, okay? It's not enough. It's very small. Here it's 56,000 or 62,000. Remove that zero. You know what? I'm going to correct that because it bugs me if I'm making some mistake and you guys think it's right. Okay. Right. Let's do this. So the contribution limits on a 401k are much larger and allows you to save more money in a 401k versus an IRA. There's also another big reason why you would do a 401k also, and we'll talk about that. Okay, patience. So before we went there, I talked about qualified expenses. This is very important. Keep this in mind and pay attention here, okay? So it can be withdrawn early, the money you put into a Roth. Remember, you paid taxes on it already. Now it's growing tax-free and the distribution is also tax-free, okay? It can be no penalty for qualified expenses. And this is why it's so important for you guys to listen to this. Qualified expenses are education. So let's say I start your Roth IRA right now and I'm in a pickle and I don't have money for my college. I can take it out of my Roth IRA, okay? No penalties, no nothing. You can take it out for your college, qualified college expenses. You can take it out for a down payment for your first home, and you can take it out for unreimbursed medical expenses. So there are others as well, but these are the important penalty-free withdrawals from Roth. Question about what is the contribution limit is the maximum amount, any contribution limit here. And I'm going to go back here. This contribution limit is a maximum amount you can put into the account. So let's say I'm working for an employer. Let's say I'm working for IBM. This is the most I can put into the account every year. If I'm over 50, I can put 25,000. This is the most I can put in as a self-employed person. See, I have a solo 401k and my business, let's say, is making $500,000. I can put $56,000 into the account tax-free, okay? And I can put 62,000 if I'm over 50. All right, I'm going to stop here because this is a complex topic and I want to make sure everybody understands. Any questions? James asked, if I have a really high salary, I can only put up to the limit. That's right, James. You can only put up to the limit, even if it doesn't matter how much money you're making. That's the limit. And so you can see that the solo 401k limit is much, much higher than any of these other limits. It's really, really small, right? This one's the biggest. And this is kind of where you want to be on the right side of the quadrant. I talked about that yesterday, right? When you're on the right side, on the last class, actually, the right side of the quadrant, you can open a solo 401k because you're self-employed. Actually, even the left side, but at the bottom left side. But it's better. You can do a solo 401k for your business, but it cannot have employees. So there's some caveats there, but you can always set up a self-employed business, which is like an Amazon store, and open a solo 401k. So you can still be working for your employer and open this, okay? So it's not exclusive. Just understand that. All right. So why should you do a 401k? Urjit asked, why do a 401k? Because generally most companies match. What does that mean? Usually every employer, most employers will match a percentage or half a percentage for every percentage you contribute up to 6%. And we'll look at a matching example to clarify that. So let's say I put 3% every year into my 401k. My employer will pay 3% into the 401k as well. So now I have 6% in the 401k instead of 3%. So if I pay 6% and they're matching 1-to-1, they'll put another 6%. So now I have 12%. And you can see how powerful matching can be. They're giving you free money. So why would you leave money on the table, right? So the other reason is you expect your tax rate at retirement to be lower than now. So let's say you start working and you're making really, really good money. And you think when you retire, you're not going to make as much, then you would rather not pay taxes right now and pay those taxes later. That's why you would put money into a traditional 401k. Okay, so let's talk about employer matching. I talked about matching. So what happens is, let's take an example of someone making $40,000. in the first case, the employer is saying, I'm going to match 100% up to 6%. Okay, what does that mean? 6% of my 40,000 is 2,400. Okay, and you're basically saying, I'll put in 1,200, and your employer says, I'll put in another 12. So they're putting 3 and 3%, right? So the total is, I'm not sure of that example. Hang on, let me think about this. Contribution needed, okay. Let me think. Okay, so you put in 1,200, your employer is matching that 1,200, so now you have 2,400. So your employer says, I'm going to put in half of what you put in. So if you put in 1,200, they're going to put 600. So I'm a little confused here. That shouldn't be the case. So essentially, let's ignore that example. I'm a little confused. Contribution needed to meet the employee maximum. Yeah, let's see here, 2,400. Oh, okay. So let's look at it this way. So if I put in 2,400, then the employer will basically, in the 100% match, they'll give me another 2,400, okay? If I put in 4,800, and in the other case, when the employer is only matching 50%, then the employer will give me half of 4,800, which is 2,400, okay? So it's basically 100% matching or 50% matching. So if you put in 6%, the employer will either give you another 6% or they'll give you 3%, depending on how they're matching. I got a little confused with that example. Sorry about that. So let's see, there are some questions here. I want to take that, okay? How do you know which retirement account to open? Can you please give an example where you open a 401k or an IRA? I would say if you can afford to open both, okay? There's no and or, okay? If it makes sense. So if your employer is matching, then you should open a 401k. If your employer is not matching, you have to think about it. You know, how much do you want to save? It depends on that. What is the difference between a solo 401k and a 401k? 401k is an employer account. So let's say I'm working for IBM. IBM opens an account for me for 401k. That's an employer account. Solo 401k is self-employed account. Let's say I'm a realtor, or I have my own business like I do. I have a solo 401k for my business, but you can have both. That's the power of 401ks. So let's say you're working for IBM and you have an Amazon store which is making some money. You can have a solo 401k from your Amazon store because you are self-employed in your Amazon store. You have a business there. And then you can have an employer account with IBM as well. Does that make sense? Can you open more than one of each? That's a good question. The answer is yes, you can. Let's say I have multiple businesses, right? I have 3 businesses and I'm self-employed in all the 3 businesses. So technically, yes, I can open more than one. Good questions. You can only open one per business, yes, because there is that limit there. For IRA, there's no difference between solo and 401k. Employer right for the limit. Okay, so an IRA is an individual retirement account. It's not related to a business. That's why there's no employer or solo, okay? It's just an individual, you person, okay? So there's no employer or solo for IRA. If the maximum amount of money in account is 19,000, then if the employer matches, it cannot go over 19,000. You're saying the match amount, that's kind of right, but you're probably not going to push in 19,000 into account. So you'll probably put in less and let your employer match. Your employer is not going to match 19,000, okay? So your employer will only match a certain percentage you put in, like 3% or 6%. So since an individual's IRA, is that why there's no tax? No, there's both. Remember when we saw that example here? So IRAs can be both Roth and traditional. So it doesn't mean IRAs are one or the other, But just like there can be traditional 401k, there can be Roth 401k. There can be traditional IRA and there can be Roth IRA. There can be both, okay? So traditional only means that you don't pay taxes here initially. Here you pay tax and then put the money in, but you never pay taxes after that. Whereas here you don't pay tax, it grows without tax, but you pay tax when you take it out. And don't forget, it's not tax-free in traditional. So whenever you go to work for someone and you start putting money into their traditional account, like traditional 401k, you are going to pay taxes just at retirement or later. Any questions before I keep going? I want to make sure you don't miss anything here. Can you have more than one IRA account? Yes, you could have a Roth and you could have a traditional IRA. You could have both, but you'll have to see how much money, how much you can contribute to an IRA, or if you can contribute without paying taxes, especially to a traditional, you don't pay taxes, right? You put in before taxes. Then you have only certain amount, certain income levels to qualify for that, okay? Why does traditional exist if Roth is so good? Traditional exists because you may not want to pay taxes right now. Roth, you have to pay taxes before you put in money. So I love Roth IRAs. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Here's why. I think that it is a great thing, great tool for you to grow money, especially to take advantage of the compounding effect of money. I don't think Roth will be around forever. You know, really, the government is basically saying, you pay taxes right now on this money that you're putting in, you'll never pay taxes ever again. This is amazing, you know, because every penny which grows into the account is tax-free later. And when we talk about the power of compounding, I'll just remember why that's so important, right? I will come back to this. I would say ask your parents if they can open a Roth IRA for you right now. Even though the contribution limit is only $6,000, it's one of the best things they can do for you. So I actually opened one for my daughter. She has a Roth IRA right now, and I will start investing that, and I'll put money into it every year until she goes to college. And after that, I'll still keep putting money in until she graduates and gets a job. So, and you'll see the numbers and how that works. So your parents can put money into your Roth in two ways. They can pay you from their business. Like my daughter does a lot of my marketing and social media marketing and design work for my business. So my business pays her $6,000 a year, sometimes $12,000 a year, and $6,000 of it goes to the Roth. Right? She doesn't pay any taxes up to $12,200. Remember, standard deduction, she doesn't pay any taxes on any of these. So she actually puts tax-free money because she doesn't owe taxes, okay? It's a powerful way to save. So put money into your Roth every year, $6,000 a year, which is $500 a month, I believe, yeah? And find investments that will compound and grow because tax-free growth is powerful. And we'll talk about how tax-free growth looks, right? Remember the numbers, you'll see it. Tax-free withdrawal is even better, right? Both kinds of retirement accounts will allow for tax-free growth, but only the Roth accounts will allow for tax-free withdrawal, right? Is that clear? James asked, can I have multiple Roth IRAs for more people? The Roth IRA is one per person. You cannot open more than one per person. All right, money and taxes. I want you to look at what taxed account means, what tax deferred account means, and what tax-free account means. Taxed account means you go put in post-tax dollars, which means you already paid taxes to the government. Let's say you're making $60,000, you paid taxes to the government. The rest you took and put it in your bank account. You spent on everything else and left some savings in your bank account. Or you went and put some of your savings into the stock market, or you went and bought a house. Now, all of this growth is taxed, right? You go put it in the stock market and you make, let's say 8 or 10%, that growth is going to be taxed. So you're going to pay taxes on top of that. And we talked about capital gains tax. Does everybody remember capital gains tax from last week? Yes? I don't see any yeses. Okay, so essentially your stock market, your bank accounts, they're all taxed. So let's say you make a lot of interest in your account, in your bank account, right? Which is not happening nowadays, but anyway, let's say it does happen and you put a certificate of deposit or a CD, we talked about that too, then your growth will be taxed on it. So there will be no taxes on withdrawals because you already paid taxes, right? They can't take any, there's no withdrawal in this taxed accounts. It's just your money, right? In a tax deferred account, like a traditional IRA or 401k, we have pre-tax dollars going in, which means I haven't paid taxes on those dollars yet, but the growth is tax-free, but the withdrawal is taxed at retirement. Example, traditional 401k and IRA. Tax-free accounts, you put post-tax dollars. This is kind of summarizing what we talked about. Post-tax dollars goes in. This is like a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. The growth is tax-free. It's growing without taxes. The withdrawal is tax-free as well at retirement or for qualified expenses. We talked about education being one of them. All right, I will take some questions because it's going to get difficult if I don't answer questions right now. How do you set up a Roth IRA account? Fidelity has one of the best ways to set up a Roth IRA account for minors. If you're under 18, ask your parents to look at fidelity.com. I can send that later. So you can't, someone asked, if I put 10,000 in the account, the employer max, and the maximum is 19,000 and employer matches 100%. If it would go over 19,000, what would happen? Neela, the employer will never match 100% up to 10,000. They'll only match up to a certain percentage, which is usually like $6,000 or something. So your match might be 6,000 at most. Which companies do this? Hold the funds. I'm not sure what the question is. Funds for what? Is there an age limit for Roth IRA? No, there isn't. You can open a Roth IRA right now. For example, the sooner you can open, the better. You know, if you're 11, 12, you know, ask your parents to open a Roth IRA for you. Okay, employer matching, we'll get back to it. So you don't need to have income to set up a Roth. What you can do is your parents can even give you a gift and a gift of $6,000 and you can put it in the account. It's kind of like savings for yourself and growing tax-free. So you don't need to have an income necessarily, but if let's say you're working for your parents' business, if your parents are business people and let's say you become a model for them or you do some marketing for them, then they can actually legally pay you. You can have an income with them, with your parents' business. So since we talked about tax-free and taxed account, what kind of account is a stock brokerage account? Is it a taxed account, a tax deferred account, or a tax-free account? Do you want to answer that in the chat box? You can type 1, 2, or 3. Just type it in the chat box. No. So someone answered 2. It's wrong. It's not a tax deferred account. You have to pay taxes on your stock brokerage account when you make money on it. So it's 1, okay? Ria, it's not a tax-free account. A stock brokerage account is where you actually have to pay money when you, remember capital gains? You have to pay capital gains on when you trade stock and you make money. So you cannot get any tax-free benefits on a stock brokerage account. So it's 1, it's a taxed account. So coming back to how to become a millionaire. So we are at 4:50. So 4:50 Central. So I want to come back to how to become a millionaire, which is where we started. So again, who wants to become a millionaire? Type yes. All right, are you guys ready? All right, this is how you become a millionaire. So if you can save just $500 a month, okay, you start, let's say, when you are 25, okay, and you keep contributing $500 a month till you are 35 years, for 35 years, till you're 60 years old, okay? Every month, 500 a month. So that's kind of where it is, 35 years. And I've said year of withdrawal is just to say, I'm going to pull it all out at once, but that's not what you would normally do. But I just want to show you this calculator, and you can actually check it out. I'll send this link as well. This is really powerful. So, and I'm assuming an 8% return. So if you invest well, you can make 8% on your money, okay? So we talked about the power of compounding, and here is the amount you put in. Here is the amount which is growing. See how this amount gets really large over time compared to what you put in? This is what you put in, this is what you made. So as the time goes by, the power of compounding really works for you. In 35 years, this is showing a 35-year timeline where you put in just 500 a month and you let it grow at 8% interest, and this is what you'll have. So let's see how much each of those accounts, what do you think these 3 bars represent? Anybody wants to say? Anybody wants to guess? Taxes? We just spoke about it not too long ago. I asked what types of accounts there were. Stock brokerage, what is that? What type of account is a stock brokerage account? That's a hint. All right, taxed, yeah. So first one is taxed. The second one, which is a longer bar, is tax deferred. The third one, which is the longest bar, my favorite kind of account, is tax-free, okay? So if you had put in 500 a month for 35 years, when you started working at 25, in a taxable account, you would have, and I assumed an 8% growth, right? A taxable account will give you $751,000. See, the second one is the tax deferred account. This is your traditional 401k or Roth account. So what happened here? The taxes didn't get paid for the growth. The growth was great, but when you pulled it out, you have to pay taxes. So the taxes ate away money. This big chunk of money here, the taxes ate, okay? They grew tax-free though. It's better than this because it actually grew tax-free. Now, the last type, which is my favorite one, is a tax-free one. This is why I say pay taxes and let it grow. So Roth for me is the best account, but the only problem with Roth is you can only put $6,000 in a Roth IRA, okay? So $1.2 million, okay? Just 500 a month, okay? That's all. Can everybody here save 500 a month, do you think, when you're working? I wanna see a yes. This is just money saved, yes. It's just 500 a month saved for 35 years invested. How much do you think you're gonna make when you graduate from college and start working? How much in a month will you make? 6,000, James says 6,000. If you're gonna make 6,000, that's 6 times 12, right? A month. 72,000 a year. That's a pretty good initial salary. You should be able to save 25% of it, okay? 20 to 25% of it. 1,600, Subhansh, I hope you make more than that when you graduate from college, okay? When you're in college, I understand, but after graduating, you have to make more. Timothy says $1 million a day. I like your ambition, Timothy. That would be real hard after college unless your parents have a lot of money. But this is how you become a millionaire, just with your retirement account, just with a Roth, you know, where you allow it to go tax-free and you just save 500 a month for 35 years. Questions? I want to keep this on because I really like this slide. I wish I had seen this when I was 15 or 14. We are going to go through some questions quickly. Is the Roth best overall? It depends, right? You might not qualify for a Roth if your income is too high. Actually, you could still qualify for a Roth, I believe. Yes, Roth, I think right now you should definitely do a Roth until you're old enough. Keep putting money in a Roth and keep putting money all the time in a Roth. Just don't stop. Is it the best? No, because it's only $6,000. You can't put any more than that. So you want to make use of your other accounts as well, besides Roth. How do I invest in Roth? Is it through an agent? Will Roth money affect any college scholarship? That's a great question. So this is the beauty of Roth. It will not affect your college scholarship at all because it's your retirement account. Retirement accounts are not considered assets that count against you in your college applications. Vidya, that's a great question. Will money lose value after 35 years? That's a great, great question. Absolutely. It's not $1.25 million, $1.2 million 35 years from now is not going to be the dollar value right now, right? So you'll probably need much more, like it probably needs to be like $2 million or $2.5 million for it to be as valuable as 1.2 million is right now. So your goal should be 1,000 a month, maybe, you know, and you probably want to make more interest if you can. Is there a limit of 6,000 a month? Yes, there is a limit of 6,000 a month. Is it quiz time? Yes, it's quiz time. Questions, there are lots of questions. If you're self-employed, can you have an IRA instead of solo 401k? Neela, I would have both. I would have a solo 401k and an IRA. Is there, in a Roth IRA, if you put 6,000 in account, can it still be matched? There are no, can it still be matched 100%? Depends on your employer. I don't know a lot of employers who do Roth 401ks. So that's something you'll have to talk to your employer about when you're ready. That's probably not very applicable to you right now, a Roth 401k. A Roth IRA is for you right now. There is no matching on a Roth IRA. Remember, it's an individual account. Will money lose value after 35 years? Yes, it will. So you'll have to make more money. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to be a double millionaire by 35 years, maybe more. Where can you invest the money if you open a Roth IRA to Fidelity? You can open it, invest it into the stock market, like you can buy mutual funds, or you can put it in S&P 500. You can put it in indexed mutual funds. You can put it in ETFs. So we'll actually do a stock market virtual trading class on the last class, session 12. I'm trying to figure out the right one for it. It's a little complicated, but I'll see if I can help you guys there. Any other questions? Employer matching, we'll have to talk offline. If you have questions, reach out to me. What's the main difference between taxed and tax deferred? Tax deferred means you put pre-tax dollars into it, but you'll pay taxes at retirement. Taxed means you're paying taxes already, and then you'll get taxed again for it if you make any money on it. But only on the money you make. You don't get taxed on what you already paid taxes on. There's no double taxation. So if you had $1,000 that you paid taxes on, and you put the $1,000 and made 500 more, so you only pay taxes on that 500 more you made. You don't pay taxes on the 1,000 because it's already post-tax dollars, if that makes sense. Is there an age limit? I think I've answered everything else. We'll go to quiz, okay? So all of you now know how to become millionaires and gazillionaires. I'm ready for you guys to make some money. So join me for the quiz. 469937. I'm looking for my quiz account. Give me a second. All right. I see 18 of you here. I'm missing some more. I'm sharing my screen, which will also show you the joinmyquiz.com. Arav, please see the screen I'm sharing. Awesome. I expect 33 people right now who are on to be here. So I'm going to give it some time. I see 22, 27, 24, sorry. Where are the rest? I'm missing 8 people. Here is here. Danielle. Missing 6 more people. Who's missing here? If anyone's having trouble, type in the chat box. Unable to find the quiz. Vidya, look at your screen. Go to joinmyquiz.com. Code is 469937. Just type joinmyquiz.com in the browser. One guy said they wouldn't be able to do it. Okay, that's fine. We still should, missing 6 people. All right. I'm going to start it because people have to go. So if you snooze, you lose. Go. All right. Who's not done? Man. All right, I see Aria is on the top of the list right now. Aria, are you done? Aria, are you a high schooler or middle schooler? Elementary. Wow, good job. All right, I'll combine you with the middle schoolers. Please send me your email. Please send me an email to my email address. Do you have my email address? No worries, Urjit. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Yeah, Arya, do you have my email address? I'll just type my email address. Send me an email and tell me what kind of gift card you want. I have Amazon, Steam, or I'm just typing my email there. I have Amazon, Steam, or Starbucks. Who else is on the top here? Let's see. Daniel, are you on? Daniel? All right, a quick review here. Tax deferred means you do not have to pay income tax on the money. A lot of people got this wrong. You only have to pay money on income tax. Why? How do I turn the sound off? I don't know. Let's see. That was annoying. Tax deferred means you do not have to pay income tax on the money until you begin to withdraw it at retirement, okay? Which of the following is the best for growth and withdrawal for money from a taxation standpoint? It is tax-free, okay? That's the best. I also showed you the numbers on the tax-free, you know, how it can grow and how you can withdraw it. You make the most amount of money. What is considered retirement age when it's acceptable to begin taking IRA distributions without penalty? It is 59 and a half. It's a weird number. That's how you remember it. What is the maximum amount you're allowed to contribute to IRA each year? It's $6,000. And that keeps changing, guys. It's been changing over the years, okay? It will keep changing, but right now it's 6,000. What is not a reason you can take an early withdrawal from your IRA without penalty? And I talked about this. These are all the reasons why the first two and the last one are reasons why you can take an early withdrawal. And not a reason is you can't pay taxes owed to IRS and take an early withdrawal from your IRA. Which IRA requires its owners to begin taking distributions at 72? It is traditional. It's forced. It's called required minimum distributions. Remember, they have to start by 72. Which type of IRA has contributions that are tax deferred? Tax deferred, traditional. Tax free, Roth. You pay taxes, but it's contributions that are it's post-tax dollars. So you don't get into tax deferral benefits with Roth. You have to just pay the taxes when you put the money in. At what age are you required to begin taking distributions from your Roth? Oh, a lot of people got this wrong. It's never. Roth is no taxes, remember? No RMDs, no taxes, never. You can keep money in your Roth and keep it working for you forever. That's the beauty of Roth. All right, which of the following is best for withdrawal and growth of your money from a taxation standpoint? Again, it's the same other question. It's similar, but it's Roth IRA. As you can see, I love Roth IRAs. I think it's best thing since sliced bread. A lot of people got this wrong. I'm surprised. 21 incorrect. Regressed minimum distribution. This is not even an answer. Like, this is not even the right thing. Required minimum distribution. The minimum amount you're required to withdraw from your traditional Roth age 50 and after. So the required minimum distribution is not at age 50. It's at age 72. Okay. So the answer is required minimum distribution at age 72 and after. Which of the following is not true of a Roth retirement account? Contribution is from post-tax dollars. This is true. Withdrawal is taxed. It's not. Withdrawal is not taxed because you already paid taxes, right? So withdrawal is tax-free. It grows tax-free, and qualified expenses like education have no penalties. These are all true. These three are true. This is false. So that's the answer. All right. What is the homework? Okay, I'm sharing the homework right now. Check this out. That's your homework, and I'll share it today as well. I'll share it in an email as well please whitelist my email, look out for my email. What I want you to do is I want you to review with your parent what kind of retirement accounts they have. If employed, review their employer retirement account with them. If they have an IRA, review that as well. If they're self-employed or business, figure out what kind of retirement accounts they have. Talk to them about setting up. There's also something called a SEP IRA and other types that I didn't cover here. I didn't want to complicate it. It's already a very complicated topic. So they might have those kinds of accounts as well. Talk to them about setting up a Roth IRA and whether you can do some work for them if they have a business, or get a gift and, you know, set up a Roth for yourself and start early. Look at Fidelity Roth IRA. I highly recommend that for minors, and research how you can start a Roth IRA. That's your homework. I have a quick poll and then you can go. I just want a feedback here and you can leave after that. Daniel, that's fine. We'll just do 2 middle schoolers today. You know, if you guys are so good, I want to reward both of you. So Daniel and who was that? Arya, please email me and let me know what kind of gift card you want, okay? Send me an email after this. Thank you guys. I hope you learned something here, and I hope I didn't confuse you too much. And if you have any questions, I'm always here for you. Bye. See you guys. Have a great day. Thank you. I'll see you next week, okay?